Hi everyone, thank you for clicking on my video, and please consider subscribing. Today I'm going to talk about the bedroom basher. There's a crazy ass twist to this story, so when I get to that twist, I'll go ahead and let you know. But I will be talking about two guys, but they do connect to the story. Alright, here we go. Gerald Parker was born in 1955 into a very poor family with 11 brothers and sisters. In 1963, his mother passed away and his grandmother had to take care of him. After the death of his mother, Gerald and his family moved into segregated housing in Arizona, which was mainly populated by African Americans with little to no education, and was a frequent target of bullies. Due to trouble at school, he began to huff household and industrial chemicals, eventually becoming addicted. So just in case if you guys don't know what huff means, it's the chemical vapors and the pressurized gases that are concentrated. They're breathed in either through the nose or the mouth, and you kind of feel intoxicated by doing so. In the late 1960s, Gerald ended up moving with his family to San Diego, California. In his teen years, he began to do LSD. His school grades worsened. In 1970, he stole several items from his school, but was captured and promptly expelled. Due to his age and the laws of the juvenile courts, he wasn't charged with the crime. He was transferred under supervision of guardians to the Boys Republic private school for troubled adolescents located in Chino, California. In 1973, Gerald enlisted into the Marines until the beginning of 1980. Due to problems with law enforcement, he was forced to leave. On February 15, 1940, Gerald abducted a 14-year-old girl and released her. That victim then contacted the police and described the car. Gerald was soon arrested. He confessed to the crime and also admitted to a robbery committed 13 days earlier in Pasadena, California. He was found guilty of rape and received an 8-year sentence, which he served at the California Correction Institute. After serving his sentence, he got out. In July 1993, he was arrested for several thefts and robberies in Orange County, California, for which he was convicted and sentenced to 4 years. However, in February 1995, he was paroled. In January the following year, Parker was arrested for violating the conditions of his parole and returned to prison to serve out his sentence. But during this time, he was forced to give a blood sample. And now I'm going to go ahead and talk about Kevin Green. Like I said earlier, both of these guys are connected to the stories. In 1979, Kevin Green, a 21-year-old Marine, left his pregnant wife in the middle of the night as he went out to get something to eat at the local Jack in the Box. When Kevin got home, he found his wife on the floor, and he instantly thought she had been shot. As soon as he realized her condition, he immediately called the police. The police immediately began to suspect Kevin and the story he told the police officers. He had told that he was hungry and went out to grab something to eat at the local Jack in the Box. However, the line was a little too long, so he decided to go to another location that was a little bit further away and returned back home and found his wife on the floor. Police believe that Kevin did this to increase his time away from the house to show that he would not have been able to harm his wife. As part of the investigation, which is standard in most cases, the police immediately began to look at Kevin and Diana's relationship. Through the investigation, police uncovered that Kevin and Diana had a rocky one, and the police were at least called once. As part of Kevin Green's story, he said that he observed a black man at the bottom of the apartment complex when he left to go get food, and upon arriving back, he observed the man getting into a van and departing the area. But regardless of what Kevin said, he still remained the number one suspect. Diana was rushed to the hospital. However, it was too late for the baby that Diana was carrying. Diana fell into a coma. When she woke up, she had forgotten how to speak and required rehabilitation and round-the-clock care, which Kevin provided while staying with her family. Throughout the entire investigation, Kevin remained a suspect, even though in the area there had been similar attacks on women, living in an apartment building located on the first floors. As Diana began to recover, she called the police and provided them with an account what she remembered. So no one actually knows really if Diana came up with these memories on her own or if she was coached and coerced to saying what happened that night. But she had said that Kevin wanted sex and she didn't, When she declined having sex with Kevin, he ended up attacking her and raping her. This was what the police needed to arrest Kevin and charge him with the crime. While in prison, Kevin stated everything Diana said was false and thinks her head injury left her with a false memory that night. On November 7, 1980, Kevin Green was convicted of second-degree murder of their unborn child and first-degree attempted murder of Diana with assault with a deadly weapon. Kevin was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. During this time of Diana's attack, there had been an estimated of 20 other attacks that were similar in nature. However, these attacks and the associated DNA remained in a separate file. None of these attacks were linked to Kevin, but they all had a resemblance of Diana's attack. As previously mentioned, all the victims of the bedroom basher were females that were raped and were beaten and lived on the first floor of apartments. In 1996, a detective was working cold case files and picked up the file of the bedroom basher and sent some of the samples of DNA to get tested. Once they returned, to the detective's surprise, there was a match. It was Gerald Parker, who was in jail and was set to be released in a month. As police began to investigate Gerald, they realized that he was actually stationed in the same base as Kevin. Police immediately took the evidence to Gerald. However, he denied having anything to do with the killings and protested his innocence. But under pressure from mounting evidence, he confessed during another interrogation 2 days later. Gerald Parker's trial began in 1997, and in 1999, he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. Gerald is currently incarcerated at San Quentin State Prison and is awaiting execution. Kevin Green had served 16 years in prison, but was exonerated, released, and was awarded roughly around $600,000. Once released, the first thing Kevin did was visit the grave of his unborn infant. Kevin's trouble was not over yet. He still had to settle a wrongful death suit that was filed by Diana. Kevin and Diana settled out of court, and to this day, Diana still remains angered at Kevin and blames him for leaving the door unlocked, stating that if he had not left the door unlocked, then the rape would have never happened. Diana actually still believes that Kevin hit her on the head with a heavy object since she told him no about sex. Then Kevin left to go grab food, and that's when Gerald came into the house and raped her. She thinks both Kevin and Gerald are at fault for her losing her unborn baby girl. So what's crazy about this story is how Diana still believes that Kevin had committed the crime of bashing her over the head and then left, of course, to go get food. And while he did so, that's when Gerald went in and raped her. I mean, he was put away for 16 years of his life. That's crazy. And $600,000, that ain't shit for 16 years, of your life in prison. His life was thrown upside down. But evidence does show that Gerald is the only one that ended up going into that house, bashing her over the head and raping her.